Check one, two. I always have to start my videos off like that because when I do that, it makes me giggle and that takes the nerves off, because whenever I start making videos, I get a little nervous. But then I have to remember exactly why I'm making these videos. So if this is your first time on my channel, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. For both new and old, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like, comment, and even share this video. And also put on the notification bell because I am going to be ramping up my video creation from here on out. And I'm speaking that into the atmosphere. So it is so. So today, as you guys know, I love to talk. I love to pick a topic to chit chat about. Usually it's something that's on my mind. And today, I went to my accountability group and we were talking about self image. So, this is like sort of a new topic for me. I never really thought too much about my self image. And so, that's the topic that's on my mind today. And I found an activity that we were given the opportunity to do sort of tough. And I was like, why am I'm with myself every day. So I know me better than anybody. Why am I having such a tough time with this activity about self image? And one of the things that came to my mind, because I love to answer these questions that I ask myself, I love to answer them with honesty. It's just that when you've struggled with your self esteem for a really long time, you can find it kind of hard to think of yourself in these amazing, powerful, and magnificent ways. And as much as I see myself like as a talented person and an intelligent person and a kind, loving, giving person, and all kinds of characteristics that I can name, I was having a hard time with this lesson. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was share some points that will help with not only doing the activity that I need to do, but can help anybody in general with their self image, with their self esteem. Uh, you have to get information. So I want to take this moment to impress on anybody who is working on their self-image or working on their self-esteem, whether you're coming from a place of you feel like you don't have any, or you're coming from a place of you do have some, but you need to strengthen it, that if you get information about it, start with a few pointers, and then as you work on those pointers, you'll expand. Okay, so I have 5 pointers today that I want to share in terms of growing and bettering your self image or your self esteem. The first pointer I want to say is to recognize situations that affect your self esteem. So, like, different situations, family, work, school. These are different environments that can affect your self esteem. Challenges that you have with people that you're in constant contact with, that can challenge your self esteem. And also, like life events, things like loss and grief. Okay, those are just different examples of what can really affect your self esteem. So, when you start to develop this picture of the different things that you can identify for yourself that may have something to do with your level of self esteem or lack of self esteem, you now have something to work with. Okay, so you don't have to feel like, well, I don't have any self esteem and I don't have a good self image of myself. I guess I'll just stay this way. No, the first thing you can do is identify the different factors that are in your personal life that may tie into how you feel about yourself. So once you recognize those things, the next thing you want to do is to start becoming aware of your own thoughts and beliefs. Now, that was a tough one for me because that calls for your self awareness now. Okay. So it's like a twofold process. Or you're starting to recognize what things affect your self image and your self esteem. But now you have to start paying attention to yourself. What are you thinking? What do you believe about yourself? And once you start noticing what you feel about these situations that you're in and the life events that you've been through, in relation to your self image and your self esteem, what are you telling yourself? Okay. What are you saying to yourself in your mind? And once you think about the things that you think and the things that you believe, ask yourself this question: is what you are saying and believing inside something that you would say to a person that you love or that you care about? And if those things are things that you would not say to someone else that you love or care about, then why are you saying those things to yourself? So recognize how you're thinking, recognize what you're believing, and then realize that it's time to change those messages that we're giving to ourselves. And you do that by challenging those thoughts and those beliefs. Well, how do you challenge those thoughts and beliefs? Well, there's a lot of ways that many of us are out here thinking. And I think it would be a good idea to maybe do a separate video on all these different ways. But some of the ways is like, do you have an all or nothing thinking? So one of my, things that I'm trying to overcome is black and white thinking. If something is or isn't, is something good or bad? Like thinking in ways where there's no gray area. And so sometimes, I mean, I'm saying sometimes now, but I'm starting to believe now all the time that kind of thinking leads to limitations. Okay. So now you can pretty much think yourself and believe yourself out of things that you are entirely capable of. Okay. So again, talking about the ways that we're thinking, you can also think in a way where you're filtering out the negative. Like when you're looking at a situation, anything about the situation, you're not focused in on the positive, you are focused in on the negative. And if you do that, that is a habit that you have to recognize in yourself. And you have to challenge yourself to change that habit of seeing a situation or an event and automatically thinking about the negative in that situation. Another thing that we can do is that we convert positives into negatives. So, in other words, how do you convert a positive into a negative? Let's say you got a job. If you got a new job and someone congratulates you on it, oh hey, I heard that you got a raise, you got a new job, you got promoted, and they're congratulating you on this situation and this promotion and this event that you want to celebrate, and you say, yeah, I know I got it because Bob left and they just wanted to move the next person up. You just took a positive situation and you found something negative to say about it instead of accepting the positivity in the situation, the opportunity that you're now going to get. So, this is another way that we have to start challenging what we think and what we believe. Another way that we need to do that is when we find ourselves jumping to conclusions. So, let's say you send somebody a message and you don't hear back from them, and you say things like, oh, they don't want to talk to me, or I don't think I'm important to them. Lots of times, someone will send me a message and my hands are full, I'm in the middle of something, or I'm simply just taking care of myself, because that's a very valid reason to also not be in a position to get back to somebody. And I'm just using a message for an example, but it can be for anything that you are basically making up a story with no evidence that it's true. And so when you do things like jump into conclusions, that can also keep you trapped in a set of negative thinking and believing, and you have to start to learn to challenge that. Another way that we think is we confuse how we feel with what are the facts. So basically, that can pertain to what I just said about the messages. You really don't know what the facts are. So because you are maybe lonely, you're bored, which are examples of feelings, you can then start to think that someone is not reaching back out to you because they don't want to talk to you or they don't think that you're important. Those are feelings that you are confusing as facts, okay? And what you can do with that is, well, we'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about what you can do with that in a second. But the last way that we think sometimes is that we undervalue ourselves. And so this one is a big one for me. Undervaluing yourself, not really being comfortable with seeing your worth and stating it and claiming it and holding it and feeling confident in it. So, I passed that test, but it really wasn't hard. I mean, you passed the test. It took a level of knowledge to pass the test, but here you are undervaluing yourself, saying that you think you passed it because it was kind of easy or something like that. So, we have to start challenging the way that we think and the things that we believe. And you do that by adjusting statements that you have in your mind. You can begin to think more hopeful statements and affirming statements like, I am able to complete this, or even though this is a challenge, I hope to be successful about it. So you can still see things as they are, especially if it's something challenging, but you can also speak positivity into the situation so that you can change your energy about what you are looking at and what you're facing and believing. You can forgive yourself when you make a mistake, okay? That's one of my big things is when I've made a mistake, and I think this has to do with like a lot of people who have, issues with perfectionism and overachieving. I have had those issues since childhood that when you make a mistake, you just feel like it's the end of the world. You just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You start ruminating on failure, and it's just doom and gloom from then on out. So, what we have to do is realize being human means that we're not perfect, okay? And that learning how to do things is going to come with some failures, okay? Falling flat on your face and getting back up and doing something again can lead to something greater. But if we don't give ourselves this grace to make mistakes, then we'll never give ourselves forgiveness for the mistakes that we make so that we can move forward. So it's very, very important to learn how to forgive yourself. And, that goes along with focusing on the positives, okay? So another thing we can do to adjust the way we're thinking when we're thinking negatively and believing negative things is to avoid saying things like should and must. Now that's kind of difficult because sometimes I say the word should simply because it feels like it fits the sentence at the moment. So, but I have to catch myself because when you say things like should and must, again, that kind of goes back into that all or nothing thinking where you're limiting yourself. And if it's not this thing, then it has to be this thing. And sometimes that can be, a sense of failure, a sense of not being good enough. And you really want to avoid statements that contain should and must. What you also want to do is reframe thoughts that upset you. So it's upsetting to think that right around Christmas time, you may have to do tons of repairs on your car. Okay. That's a tough situation. Anybody can relate to that. You're trying to buy gifts for your family, but you also need your car because you have to work and you have to do things. Your vehicle makes life very convenient for you. But what you can do, and I'm not saying this is going to be easy, I'm not saying any of these adjustments are easy, but what you can do is reframe how you're thinking about a thought that makes you feel upset. No, you really don't want to have to do all these repairs on your car right now, but you need your car. The best thing to have for your family is your car. You're able to provide for your family, and your family has a convenience while you have this car. And so you do need to make these repairs. So if you have to scale down on the gifts, you do that, repair your car, and maybe do something else for your family to celebrate a holiday or a special occasion. And then when you can, do another special thing, okay? So there's a way that you can reframe how you're thinking about a thought that upsets you. And another thing that you can do to adjust and challenge negative thoughts and negative beliefs is to encourage yourself. Now, one of my favorite gospel songs sings to encourage yourself. And I remember when I first heard that song, I was just like, I was just like really emotional hearing it because I was so used to thinking that encouragement had to come from other people. And that was one of the things, like I mentioned in the beginning, what are the situations in your life that could lead to having a low self image or low self esteem? That was one of the things that led to it for me, is that I didn't know about encouraging myself. I only knew about encouragement coming from outside, like family, like school, like work, okay? And so I wasn't really good at encouraging myself. I was pretty good with discouraging myself, in fact. So you have to learn how to encourage yourself. And this to me, like, there's two main things that I can think of in this very moment, because this video is running kind of long, but there's two main things that I can think of in this very moment about encouraging yourself. Being able to encourage yourself, number one, it strengthens your ability to think positive thoughts, have positive beliefs, and to maintain a positive sense from the inside out. Okay. So that's number one. And then number two, when you learn how to encourage yourself, you are not looking for it to come from the outside. You learn to teach yourself to always have that with you for yourself whenever you need to access it. You don't need to wait on someone else to give it to you or seek it from the outside where it may not even exist. Because if you can think of times in your life where you felt like you needed to be encouraged and there was no one there to tell you anything, then what could you do? Well, what you could do is you could encourage yourself. So, those are the tips I wanted to share on how to strengthen and better your self image and your self esteem. All right. That's what I wanted to give today. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to me. And again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share your thoughts, share what you do to improve on your self image and your self esteem. And what are your goals for 2023 in terms of how you see yourself? So until the next time we speak again, take care of yourself, do things you love, and spend your time with people that make you happy and doing things that make you happy. Talk to you again soon. Bye.